What up, y'all? Welcome to the Get Real Sisters podcast. We are sisters, each other's biggest supporter and confidant. We keep it real with each other, just like we're going to keep it real with you with the discussions about life, the good, the bad, and the in-between. We're here to grow and get real. So don't forget to subscribe and share. Let's go.
Hey guys, it's Shanice.
Hey y'all, it's Jazz.
Alrighty, and welcome to the first podcast with the Get Real Sisters. We are so excited to be here with you guys. Disclaimer right off the bat, we are not licensed professionals, but what you guys are going to get is brand new topics every single month, an activity to go along with that, and a live. So jam-packed every month for us to really focus on communication and relationships, and really build a community full of people that just want to continue to grow and get better with time. Today's topic is flaws and all. So what we are asking you guys to do, start thinking about, what does flaws mean to you? What kind of flaws are you struggling with right now? I'm going to give you Webster's definition. Webster says a flaw is a mark, fault, or other imperfection that mars a substance or object. Very official.
I like it. I like it.
Too official.
Kind of whack.
My definition: flaws are behaviors or traits that in many cases really just hinder your personal growth and your ability to communicate.
Yeah. And for me, I think it's very similar to that. I believe flaws are basically just a negative behavior or characteristic that you personally struggle with. Within that flaw, you can also negatively impact how you are able to, effectively react to either yourself or others.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. I think what would be really important for us to do, besides our own personal definitions, is talk about what we've been struggling with.
Sure.
And by no means is this like an all-inclusive list. I probably have a book full of flaws that I would consider that I have. But just to give some examples, because we're not here to be just preaching to you guys. We aren't perfect people. We're completely human, not robots. So, I know at least one thing that I've been really struggling with is shutting down when I'm upset. How many people can really relate to that?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely. I am famous for that.
For sure. It's just the easiest thing that I do. I just clam right up. A real example in my life is, disagreements with my husband. Because we're not seeing eye to eye, I usually end up just being quiet and go into that silent treatment mode, because I just feel like there's no room for us to be heard. We're not listening to each other, especially if we're angry at that point, or, we both come from different walks of life and it just doesn't match with what our thoughts are in that current moment. So that's kind of my default, is just completely shutting down. And what I noticed during those times is it really doesn't solve anything. It's like a band-aid for the moment. Because I'm not feeling heard, I'm like, it doesn't even matter. It's not worth it anymore. And in the long run, I feel like it has also deterred future conversation. Either we just don't revisit it again until that issue comes up in the future. We're fine and we're happy, and it's not like we're fighting every single day or anything like that, but because we didn't fully discuss it and I went into shutdown mode, it never actually got to a resolution. So that's definitely one that I'm working through.
Do you feel like is it both, you and Tidy, or do you
Tidy's the nickname for my husband, y'all, if you didn't know.
Sorry.
You'll get to know us probably very well in this podcast. I think it's definitely mostly me.
Yeah.
But I can totally see where he also sometimes just does it. Whether it's just easier for him, he'll notice that I'm getting ramped up, or I'm the one maybe getting more upset than he is, because he may not see it as serious or something.
Right.
And, he'll be dismissive with his responses or something like that, which then also causes me to shut down and be like, all right, well, if I feel like you're just giving me, one word answers or not really hearing what I have to say, then I'm going to stop talking.
No doubt. No, for
Yeah.
sure. It's like when the shutting down, because we're both feelers, and when shutting down, that I think that immediate emotion or react is like anger, right? Or
Oh, yeah.
like frustration, that it's like, oh, why is the message not getting through? Like, I'm not being heard. And I've said it now about 5 different times, so I'm just gonna shut down. Do you feel like it's like one topic over the other? It's kind of like a variety and of topics that you feel like you shut down.
Oh, there's definitely like some key conversations that I think
Sure.
this happens with. Um, I think any conversation where someone's pride kind of gets involved, like whether like we have a couple kids, so whether it's parenting or
Right.
finances, I feel like couples kind of struggle with those types of conversations. I'm sure we're gonna have a podcast maybe dedicated to those specific types of conversations.
Specifically. Mhm.
Um, but I feel like those would probably be the top of mind ones that I can think of that where it tends to happen because we just see things differently.
Or I can definitely understand that. And I guess, you know me, I like to kind of dig a little bit deeper on that, of with those specific topics that, are quicker triggers, let's call it, where you are to shut down. Do you feel like that is related to, like, where do you feel like that's rooted from? Like, why do you think these kind of conversations, or situations that may come up, you are shutting down? Do you feel like it's just, oh, in the moment, that's just where my emotions are? Or is there maybe something possibly from childhood or past
Mm,
relationships that are impacting the fact that you're
yeah,
shutting
honestly, I mean, those are great points to bring up. I think it's probably a mixture of both. I feel like a lot of everyone's flaws are learned behavior at some point.
down? Agreed.
Um, and also just me personally, it is just something like at the moment that's how I'm feeling, and that just seems like the best course because I get overwhelmed, especially when I'm like angry. I'll, you know, cry or something random, and I'm like,
Me
okay,
too.
I'm not trying to get to the point of where I'm crying because now you're thinking I'm like sad or weak or something, and I'm like, no, I'm just trying not to burn this place down or something. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. I'm gonna go crazy in about 2 seconds.
Yeah. So in this particular aspect, I feel like it's almost like a defense mechanism to
Mm,
protect myself.
for sure.
Yeah.
No, that I think it's so funny that uh with our podcast being directly related to, like, communication, this being one of your flaws, like, you're able to acknowledge, okay, one of my flaws is that I just shut down. And it's like, oh, not that, like, because there's no judgment, because again, your girl does it, we all do it, we're conscious of it. Poor communication, Shanice, okay? Just poor.
I know. I'm struggling with it. I'm working on it. I feel like it's definitely got better over
Yeah,
the years, especially
good.
because I've been okay, like Janice, you're doing it right now. Like, don't go down that rabbit hole. So I've been trying to get better with it. And we'll talk about some best practices that have slowly, it's still a work in progress, but have helped me along the way.
Right.
But yeah, this is a major one for me. Um, what about what about you? What would be a flaw you think?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I ain't got none. No, just kidding. To be honest, I'm like, shoot, that list is long. No. Um, One is just, I think, because of my role, right? I've been in leadership. I went to school for management, um, currently hold that title. I am such an overthinker and talker, and mainly because that's what I've had to be for the majority of my life, right? And it's like, in, again, leadership, you have to assess situations, make decisions on the spot, think about the things that other people aren't thinking about, right? You have to be the eyes, the ears, the being of everybody, including yourself. So naturally, that trickles into my life, and weird, crazy. So with overthinking, as you can imagine, you're stressed, right? And talking, it's like, yes, talking things through, super important, but sometimes that over talking, you're not actually getting anything accomplished. Okay,
Yeah,
you're just rambling on and on, famous for it. And well, those that know, Shanice will very much so zone you all the way out if she is bored, uninterested, and just doing too much. You're elaborating a little
Get
too
to
much.
the point.
Right. That's my stories, right? I just go on and on and on and on. So sometimes I need to you got to be in the corner like this with me. So I definitely say that one of my flaws of just like overthinking, and I naturally with overthinking, and this is going to sound probably a shocker to some people, but I will think the worst first. As positive I am as an individual, I go immediately dark, and I'm like, okay, is my own family like being held captive right now? Or it's like, Jasmine, why did you think that? Because three people didn't answer in a row? Like, get your life together. So I do think worst first, and then I try to process that out. I try to do, and you'll hear very often, I'm sure, on this podcast is let's deep dive, let's get deeper, let's, dig into that a little bit. I'm constantly asking about anything and everything. Why? And I think that has pros and cons. I'm trying to understand like the deeper meaning behind absolutely everything and anything. Again, it's super positive to have, but with anything and everything in life, too much of one thing is just not healthy. Um, uh, uh, oh, excuse me, I'm so busy. Who is this? No, I'm just kidding. A great example of where recently was very much so overthinking is my job. Actually just had sadly major layoffs in the company. And right, like I said, is I go dark first. I think the worst, and I'm like, oh, I'm in it. I'm in it. I have no job. Great. No job means I can't put food and groceries in here. I can't pay any of my bills. I'm gonna be on the street starving, and just freaking out, freaking out. And it's like, okay, Jazz, what? Like, why did you go that far? Like, why did you go from, okay, the company announced layoffs are happening to now I'm on the side and I'm going to be on the side with literally a sign talking about we'll do things for work, like,
Before they
making
even
money.
talk to you.
I had no idea. And then lo and behold, I was very fortunate enough to not be one that was impacted by the layoff. So all that stress and anxiety that I created by overthinking, talking too much, telling everybody, girl is going to be down and out. Again, unwanted, unneeded stress. Unhealthy behaviors for sure. As you can, again, with the stress, I'm like, oh, I need a drink. I need 2 bottles of wine every single night to get through this. How am I going to make this happen? Um, and it was, my attitude was shitty, quite frankly. Like, I was not the positive Jazz, like, we're going to get through this. This is going to be so fine. It's like, what am I going to do? Right. So, you know, it's an ongoing process we're working through to just stop thinking too much. Um, but yeah, I'd say that's the top one that comes to my mind. And I know a lot of people, I'm sure, can relate to that, but we just got to pipe down a little
I
bit.
also do it too. Do you ever have like a physical, like I know you said you get stressed or like anxiety type of things, but do you ever have like a physical reaction to doing that? Like I've known like whenever I'm super full of anxiety, like I'm a crier, people. We've already mentioned that. I'm a crier. So if I'm super overwhelmed, I might cry, but I also might like heart's beating all crazy or
Yep.
anything like that for you.
Yeah. Which is kind of recent within the last few years of getting panic attacks. So like literally physically causing myself, because I am overthinking so deep. Of course, that intensity takes over my complete body where I don't have control for that amount of time. So physically, yeah, like that, I think that's the extreme, right? That's the extreme of something that has happened physically. But outside of that, when I'm overthinking or stressing, pimples, I get pimples in like the same spots all the time, which is so annoying. So
Maybe
if you
that's why my chin's
right,
like
right over here, that's where they be. So if you see that, just I think look at me and be like, just overthinking. You got something. You got something going on. Yeah. Um, trying to think what else, like, because there's so many, and I think they all tie into them.
Oh, I know. I feel like I have one where um I tend to have a lot of self-sabotaging thoughts.
Mm,
Yeah.
girl,
Like telling myself that I can't do something, this is too much,
for
or like
sure.
that my opinion doesn't matter. Um, and it's really hindered, like I know in the past, like I said, these are works in progress. So I feel like I've been doing pretty great with my current job right now, not allowing this to happen to me as often. But I know in the past, like I've either passed up job opportunities or opportunities weren't given to me because people weren't taking me seriously by the time I got the courage to actually voice my own opinion or speak up for myself, tell someone that I'm interested in something. They're like, well, where were you at? You've been doing this job or something for years. Why all of a sudden? Like, what changed? Because I eventually started getting out of my own way, getting out of my own head where I'm telling myself I'm not good enough um, for things that I'm actually fully capable of doing. So
Right.
that's definitely, yeah, self-sabotaging thoughts and the shutting down upset are top tier for me.
And it's so funny that you say the self-sabotaging because I know if you say no, you're lying. All of us have had at least one of those thoughts, if not many, in a day. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
It
seriously though.
it's so toxic. It's so toxic, and it honestly it actually aligns with you. Just kind of triggered me to think of like the imposter. I think it's very similar to the imposter syndrome, right? Like that is a sabotaging thought. Like when you act like when you get in that space, you are I don't know if the word would be like undermining yourself, but like
I
you
think
are
it's
fully, is it like, it's like
I
you're
think so.
fully capable. You're fully capable of all these things. You are incredible. But until you believe that, I guess you have to believe that on your own. Not, I guess, like for show. Um, you know, again, with
Or
the
fake it till
imposter,
you make it.
that's it. The imposter syndrome, it's like, um, thinking that you're like quote unquote like underqualified, right? Underqualified for the role, for the position, for whatever it is that you are
For
trying to go
marriage, for
through.
children. Like
Yes. And it's like,
translates all over.
yeah, and again, go back to like, okay, why do you think that? And like you said, it can come to or be related to your past situations that have made you feel this way against yourself, um,
Or
or
people in
towards
your
yourself,
life.
for sure.
People that have told you that you're not good enough or
Hmm.
you're never going to amount to anything. Like this can be stemming down generations because your parents also heard the same kind of
Right.
talk to them. Like it's so crazy how deep it can go.
I agree for sure. Actually, and you saying that, right? Like going like something that people could say. I will never forget. You remember in high school when our little lovely guidance counselor had told me um, when I was applying to colleges and stuff like that, and he was like, and I brought up, and granted, Bentley was a far reach, but he had to be rude with it, talking about when I told him I was applying there. He goes, "You, Bentley, you know that's a far reach school, right? You're not going to get in there." And I was like, "Huh?"
I forgot about that, but yeah.
I was like
Like
beside myself.
who gives people like the right to say stuff like
Right,
that? You know what I mean? Like,
right,
but then you being at such a young age, like you're probably like 17, 16, 17.
right.
Oh, I'm probably going to believe that because this
Yep,
older adult that quote unquote is successful in their
right,
life or whatever, is telling me that it's not going to happen.
right.
Like,
I think if it wasn't like me, like who my personality, aka the one that, oh, that's a challenge. I'm gonna do everything to get into Bentley now. At this point, I was even gonna try before. I was just gonna submit. Oh, now we about to butter this up. Like, right. So if you don't have that personality like me that again took it as a threat or a challenge, you had been absorbed in that of like,
mhm,
you're right. You're right, actually. I'm not smart enough. I don't have what it takes. And then what? Then that's a trickle. There's a domino effect that happens after that because not only is it okay, this was college, now it's going to be things in life, like
mhm.
as an adult. So thankfully, boop, boop, I was good with that. But just thinking current or, recent with, my whole business of, exclusive queen, being a, certified self love coach, being a motivational speaker, I have moments where I'm like, am I qualified to do this? Like I'm looking around, right? You see, what is it? Outside influencers, and you're like, oh, they're crushing it. Oh, they're doing that. I'm not, I can't do that. I don't have those resources. I don't, and it's like, girl, and
It's the
I have to,
comparison.
yes. Very often do I have to like reel it in, and it's like thinking like that. Me thinking in this imposter syndrome is additional lack of motivation, right? I'm like, all right, whatever. Like they got it. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. It amplifies all of my every single doubt and fear that is possible to have. It's there
Mhm.
by letting this consume my thoughts, my brain, and all that good stuff. And evidently, by having both of those things, I'm now, I'm don't have an increase, client base or event planning. Like that comes to a stop the more I invest in the thought of having or being an imposter syndrome, right? It's like banging it all up, get it together, get it together.
True, true. That's why you got me, so we can get back on track. Shout out, if you didn't hear her, exclusive queen is my sister's self-love coaching and motivational speaking business. She hosts events. So in order to be in the know, you definitely got to go follow her on Instagram. And are you on any other social media?
Facebook, Instagram,
Facebook.
and TikTok. Come on.
I keep track all the time, guys. So definitely go and follow her if you want to know more about that business. But yeah, so even people that
Appreciate
have separate businesses, successful in their career, you know, little shout out for myself. I'm a trainer at lacrosse. So even though we've both seen levels of success, we still to this day struggle with things that either can make our future successes a little slower. We're not getting to our dreams or our next goals faster because we're still dealing with stuff that everybody else is dealing with too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's like so, talking about flaws is just so important for you to recognize them. And I know it can be uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable to talk about flaws, right? You're like, oh, what's wrong with me now? And it's like, maybe you should change a little way you look at it because, being able to recognize what your flaws are can only help continue for growth, personal growth and development. And if you're not in this life doing that, excuse me, what you doing? What you doing? I'm just confused.
There's plenty of people in this world that are totally fine with being like stagnant and stuck where they are, but most of those people, I'm sure everybody has at least one example in their life, those people are usually miserable.
Right.
So yes, it's uncomfortable to deal with your flaws, but once you start realizing, okay, what are my triggers to this flaw, or what are my triggers to this behavior that I'm noticing? And when you're in that moment, because you're like, oh, hey, like I'm either about to go into shutting down, just tying into one of mine, I'm about to go into shutting down, then you could almost try to stop it either right in that moment or at least the next time. Like you build up this, what's the word I'm thinking about? You build up this, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I know we twins sometimes. Almost like the, not reserve, but basically just these building blocks essentially that get stronger and stronger as you go because you're starting with the recognition and then what you can do to fix it. And it's a continued practice. It's not like, oh, I recognized it this time, I'm all better and I'm never going to do it again. It's, you keep recognizing it every single time it presents itself. Because you don't want to be those stagnant people. You remind yourself about those people that you can tell are just miserable day in, day and out because they keep repeating themselves. Like, y'all ever looked up the definition of insanity?
No, I'm just kidding.
Even Webster says the definition of insanity is repeating the same action and expecting a different result. It doesn't make sense. You cannot do that. You can't keep doing the same thing and then expect to still grow and expect to get better. You have to change your thinking, change your actions in order for you to really progress.
No doubt. I don't know who I heard it from or, what I read, but it said something like along the lines of like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And I think that applies to everything in your life, right? It's like, if you aren't pushing yourself past your comfort zone, in everything, you are going to feel that stagnant. You are going to feel, just low, I guess. In itself, it starts to eat you away. It starts to make you become insane, right?
Mhm.
You're not continuing to um expand your horizons, your mind, your wisdom, your knowledge. And that's in my eyes, I shouldn't say that it like, like that I all know and stuff, but like that's what we're here for in life, right? It's not to just be cool with where we're at, right? And I think for American, being in America, like,
Actually, I'm going to challenge you on just that statement because I think I know what you mean, but
what?
being cool with where you're at, because I don't want also people to think like, if you're happy with where you
Oh,
are, then that's different. So we're not
right.
talking about you're happy where you are and you're comfortable with staying where you are, because you don't. I feel like our society drills in like, as soon as you reach a goal, you need to create another one and keep going, and it
Agreed.
forces us to be in this future mentality without
Mhm.
being present in the now. So we're not talking about, you know, being happy with where you are. It's the people that are where they are and they hate it. Like they
Right.
don't want to be there, but they're not doing anything to get themselves out.
Absolutely. And that's actually literally what I was going to go into too, about talking about like this American like dream and like
Mm.
and thoughts is what you were saying, of like that we always feel like we have to go, do. And that's not, I'm glad you kind of cleared that up, because that's 1,000% true. Literally directly focusing on, you're not feeling good about it. This actually makes you feel terrible. You do terrible behaviors or excessive behaviors to kind of fill that. I don't know if I want to call it a void, but kind of, you're filling the piece that you just don't want to address. You're running from reality, how you can be a better version of yourself. And um, you know, we want to make sure that you are actively doing something, whether it's every day, one small thing every single day, being aware of it and recognizing it, actually sitting with it, right? And I don't want to say like today being like, okay, what is my flaw? Okay, what's my action plan today? And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Don't move too fast too. Like, let it be what it is, right? And it's
Right.
like, okay. And understand that it's not going to be something that's overnight, right? Both of us can openly have this conversation and talk about our flaws without getting rah about it. But also, we're aware of this, and it has been an ongoing flaw for years, right? So it's like, and maybe in moments that we are experiencing it, right, where I'm overthinking, it's not where I'm like, dang it, Jasmine, you are overthinking again, and beating myself up about it. It's like, well, no, I'm in the moment overthinking. I'm gonna overthink for right now, and then I'm gonna revisit down the road of where I, have opportunity.
Mhm.
And when I say down the road, maybe it is in the same day. Maybe it's right after I'm done overthinking. I'm like, okay, girl, you was tripping. Back up. Or next week, next month, or when I talk to you and able to speak out my overthinking. So I think that's a big piece of it too, is to be able to acknowledge that this is not an overnight job,
Right.
and that can go
First
back.
first step alone.
Yes.
Like I
Like,
feel like
be
this is a
comfortable.
perfect segue into like some of our
Oh,
best practices as far as like things that have helped us or helping us, because again these are current things we're working through.
sure.
um and that first one is recognizing when that flaw is presenting itself. We, as much as some of us try not to admit it, we know ourselves very well, and the best thing that you can do, I think, for yourself is be honest with at least yourself.
Absolutely.
um because there's no point in lying to someone. Like, we talk to ourselves in our head, even though I learned that not everybody has that inside voice, but we know ourselves very well. So
Mm-hmm.
recognizing when we're seeing our own red flags, maybe we decide to ignore other people's red flags, but we can see it in ourselves. Hey, I'm doing something, one, because it usually makes you feel bad. You're not feeling good when you're experiencing one of your flaws or exhibiting one of these behaviors that you don't like
No doubt.
because you feel crappy when it's happening.
Exactly. And you know, I could you said perfectly. Now it's like so I think we've like harped on and talked about, you know, being able to recognize first and foremost. And I think it's very important for us to sit with that for a minute to emphasize how important that is to recognize the flaw.
Mhm.
Um, you know, being present, being aware, seeing these red flags, but not but there was a period at the end of that sentence. What are some other things that you're able to, or you feel that have been extremely beneficial that has helped you kind of work through your flaws?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having an outlet. So, I
Mm,
mean, we have each
come on,
other,
come on.
benefits. We have our other siblings as well. But I mean, for anyone, a family, a friend, a therapist, I feel like everybody should have a therapist.
Don't sleep on them. People really be trying to come on.
Right. Whether you're happy and everything's good right now, you probably should still be talking to someone.
No
And a
doubt.
third party that has nothing to do with you and whatever.
Yep.
Um, I also like to like journal. So
I'm
that can
trying to
be
get
really
back into
helpful.
it.
Yeah. It can
It
be
d-
tough to like stay on top of like daily life and then decide
right,
to, okay, now I'm gonna journal, but
right.
I try to be pretty intentional with that.
No
What about
doubt.
you?
I honestly like I said, the journaling thing, I'm just now, and I feel like I go in phase of that of trying to get back into it. So you know, I won't say that, but change of scenery. I'm very big on, and when I do it, like it might be over the top, aka travel to a whole different country. I will do that. I will quick.
Sounds like you.
Um, but even getting out in nature, like I literally like the balcony, hooked it up, got the lights, got the plants, putting myself in that Zen space. You know, it's an attachment to my house, but being in there, hearing the birds, hearing the rain, hearing the wind, like changed my scenery of when I'm in that moment of overthinking. Just breathe. And then I'm big into fitness, like going to work out, right?
I need to get big into
Releasing
fitness.
releasing that stress. You know, let me okay, you girl don't like to run. Let me run real quick, sweat it out. Um, for sure. I think those are like my two biggest ones of being able to kind of release or work through. Um, you
Yeah.
know, you
I think a lot of this, like, your outlets are pretty much like I'd call it like intentional healing.
for sure.
There's other things that you can totally do to make it intentional. And what I mean by intentional is like you're setting a purpose to you getting out of this flaw, behavior, trait, whatever you want to call it,
No doubt.
because you're setting up that purpose.
Mhm.
Um, I love like self-help books and podcasts. I
Mm,
listen to this Here to Thrive podcast by Kate Snowise. She's this lady from New Zealand, but she has a lot of like amazing ways about and the guests that she has on there that really resonate with me a lot. So I feel like I
early
kind
on.
of go into that um or like prayer.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That is for sure. I think whenever it's like and not even just a hard time, but like specifically talking about the flaws, it's like, you know, asking for that
Mhm.
guidance and patience that you need
Mhm.
in the moment to work through your flaws. Um,
Yeah, we grew up Christian, but obviously this isn't a Christian podcast
right.
or trying to promote or
You
push
believe what you
things that
believe,
we do, but
for
just
sure.
things that have worked for us.
Yeah, whatever
Um,
you're I say even like music. Music is my therapy. Therapy. I
it can
honestly
go good
like,
or bad, so you gotta be careful with that.
oh,
Put some
for sure.
happy, uplifting music for your in your feels, going through
Yep.
'90s R&B breakup
You know what,
songs.
you know who's been like a huge, like truthfully within this last like year or two, who's been extremely beneficial for me is AJ Gents. Shout out, you know, he catch him on YouTube, but he is instrumental
Mm,
guitar, and it's just something that really, like you said, like being careful, but like the instrumental piece of like no words and literally sitting in the now and the feeling that those instrumentals bring to you. So they're
mm.
like sometimes I've been sitting there and listening to it, and I'm like, okay, put me in a yeah, yeah, or it'd be like straight balling. I'm like,
Um,
what? Okay.
So you're revisiting those emotions sometimes.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That can also be intentional as well, like revisiting the emotions or going back to those people that you need to have those conversations. Like, I
Yep.
shut down, so maybe in the moment I may need to change my scenery, go for a walk, or write in my journal, talk to my sister, whoever. But then go back and actually heal that conversation so then it no longer is an issue and we can move forward as a couple, or with me and my husband, to be even stronger too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
a lot of
that.
a lot of different things that you can do to intentionally heal. Um, yeah,
And these
I
are
mean,
only a few that have worked for us. And you know, I'm always open to trying new things. So if there's any other
definitely let us
recommendations
know.
out there,
Right.
please.
Let us know. That's what our comment sections are going to be for. Let us know exactly what you think about what we said, what things have worked for you, what you're working through. And Jasmine, if you wanted to explain the activity, because I know that's your
Yeah,
bag.
yeah. So exciting. So next week, come on, next week, check us out. Pop into this because we're going to hit you with the what's the word? What's the word? Okay. We're going to give you a little activity to join us in our monthly topic of flaws and all. Okay. Every single month, we will provide you with an activity to try. It's something that we're going to implement into our life. We'd love for you to be a part of it as well. So come on quick and check us out. The what's the word is really to, again, challenge you to be more aware. Um, and maybe it is simply just that, take note or and take action. So super excited to officially drop that. Again, we'll have that cute and uploaded for you. Additionally, I was like, why did my mind just blank? Because I'm so freaking excited. Talk about, see, overthinking sometimes, we get a little stimulated and too much.
Well, after that activity, the Tuesday following it, like I said in the beginning, we're going to go live and we're actually going to talk through the activity that we are also going to do. So it's not like, hey, you guys have this homework, but we still have flaws and that's okay.
Right.
We're also going to be doing it with you and we'll talk about it on live and continue to build that conversation. So make sure that you subscribe and
Share.
build it.
Oh,
So you're in the know as soon as these videos come out, as soon as the what's the words posted, and you can tap in live with us every third Tuesday of the month so that we can continue to talk about everything and anything under the sun. You can even give us topics that you might even want to have us discuss as well. So honestly, Jazz, like this was really, really fun.
amazing. I'm so excited. Like, you love to talk. Love to talk.
I know.
This was
So we're
great.
gonna wrap it up, but remember, we're all not perfect. We all have flaws, but recognizing what they are, why they're happening, and finding your different outlets so you can intentionally heal is going to be what saves you at the end of the day.
No doubt. It's been real, y'all. We appreciate you. We'll get real with you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye, y'all.
What up, y'all? Welcome to the Get Real Sisters podcast. We are sisters, each other's biggest supporter and confidant. We keep it real with each other, just like we're going to keep it real with you with the discussions about life, the good, the bad, and the in-between. We're here to grow and get real. So don't forget to subscribe and share. Let's go.